Okay, so then I'll do a final roundup as best I can. We've had an amazing few days and a few, I suppose, reflections for me at least. When I started working with nature conservation, somebody said to me once, all you'll be doing, Vikki, is digging holes, filling them in again and cutting down trees. And it's kind of interesting when you really think about it. What we do with nature conservation, actually, that is quite a lot of what we do. We dig holes and we fill them in again, but with fence posts perhaps, and we cut down trees and we maybe dig holes to plant trees as well. So quite a lot of what we do can kind of fit in those categories. But what's been really interesting, over those 30 years is also the amount we've learned. And I think the much, much closer connection between research and practitioners. And I think for me, that's been one of the most inspirational things I've heard over the last few days, is just more of that connection between people doing monitoring and studies, and we're learning more. And the reintroduction program is really interesting. I have to say I'm a bit skeptical, or was very skeptical about reintroduction programs. So many have failed. But if we think about the lessons and the knowledge that we've gained over life cycles, and that they don't like Jonas's mixture with wine, and that's kind of useful information for us. But more of that, because we'll learn faster and we'll make better choices, making use of background information, of monitoring information, and studies that are going on over Europe. And this is where we can all be better too. Some of these are published in languages perhaps that we don't always understand, but there's help out there, I'm sure. Between us we can cover a lot of languages, and making use of that knowledge and being able to implement it in practice. And I do love your technology ideas, from these things up the trees with little cameras, just like wow. So we have moved on quite a long way from just digging holes and cutting down trees. That's not really what I mean. And I think, having a great day out yesterday, and I think, goodness me, haven't we just missed that so much with COVID? That there's just really nothing in the Zoom room that can replace what we did yesterday and what we've done over these last 3 days, over coffee, over lunch, listening to people, hearing their questions. I don't know, you will all have been like me. You've sat at home looking into the Zoom screen thinking, I think they're all playing Heyday on their mobile phones while I'm talking. And just being able to look at things together. And, we can use words, but when you look at something, it's so much easier to understand one another and to learn much more quickly. So, and I think landscape scale, that's also for me the big challenge that's facing all of us and that we all have in common. I feel kind of desperate that's now is really the time when we need to start. Our protected areas are really important and we shouldn't ignore them, but we've got to start looking outside. Small gains over large areas. We've got to make our landscape less hostile to biodiversity. That's absolutely essential and critical going forward, not just for our oak landscapes. And I'm going to finish off actually with a quote from Britain. There was a report done a few years ago called the Lawton Report, where they was looking at the state of nature. And his kind of quote has been used is bigger, better, and more joined up. And I think it's a kind of easy mantra for us to both share with people that we work with and use as a foundation for nature conservation going forward. So I'd just also finally like to thank everybody, all of you. I think I am the only person in the room with English as the mother tongue. So I thank you all for speaking English for my sake. That's really kind. But I also know how challenging it is to give presentations in a second language. So I think we all, or at least I should give you all a round of applause for having done that. So, and thank you to everybody for all your contributions over the last few days. It's been great. I think we should give ourselves a round of applause.